Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, August 1st. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 588 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we are recapping day number 8 of New York Jets training camp, as the New York Jets were back out on the practice field at One Jets Drive in Florham Park. And as we always do today on these episodes, we'll break down all of my biggest takeaways from today's practice. And of course, we'll take a look at some sound a little bit later on. Aaron Glenn met the media today. Jeremy Rucker met the media today. And welcome back Nick Folk. He also met the media today for the first time since returning to the Jets, of course, earlier in the week. So we'll get on that and touch on that a little bit later on in today's podcast to close things out. But as we always do, we'll start today with what took place on the practice field for the New York Jets. And after a bumpy day yesterday for the offense, it was a very strong day, a very strong bounce back today for the Jets offense, and specifically Justin Fields. This was, by all measures, through the 8 practices, his best practice so far of the summer as the calendar flips here to August. And that's a really positive sign if you're a New York Jets fan. And I think a lot of Jet fans, you all have to kind of take a step back a bit when you really want to evaluate Fields and evaluate what he's doing this summer. Right? This is a guy, of course, had the toe injury, sidelined him for 2 practices, was back out there on Monday, but you just want to see consistent progression. You want to see consistent improvement. Not every day is going to be perfect with Justin Fields. He still has a lot to learn, both learning a new system and working on different areas of his game that needs to be improved, needs to be refined, that he's struggled with so far in his NFL career. So there's going to be some bumps in the road. You saw that the last couple of days. You saw that yesterday. But there's going to be days like today where you see the potential and you see the possibility with him in the offense when things are clicking. He's making the right decisions and is showing signs of development. So really positive practice for the offense and Justin Fields. From what he was able to do on the field, he started practice today with a quick pass to Garrett Wilson, then followed that by recognizing the pressure and scrambled for about 10 yards. So utilizing his legs, of course, the quick pass to Garrett. Those two continue to connect there. That was primarily the first set of 11-on-11 drills. When you move on to the second set of 11-on-11 drills, this is where you really take some of the big positives. And he was just completion after completion after completion, handling pressure well when he had pressure, extending the play, a couple really nice throws in traffic. Again, all in all, just a really strong day. So the second set started with a completion to Jeremy Rucker, which is a positive as well from a Jeremy Rucker perspective, as you look for him to start to show more signs of life as he enters year 4 as a receiver behind Mason Taylor. You want somebody in this tight end room to emerge really Rucker or Stone Smart as a number 2 behind Taylor from a receiving perspective. And it was a nice play by Fields because he was rolling out to his right. He was able to avoid pressure, and Rucker made a nice adjustment on his route, and he was able to connect for about 20 to 25 yards in traffic. Good play by Fields, nice play by Rucker, a good connection there. It's a solid play there in the early portion of practice. And then Fields followed it up with another completion to Garrett Wilson, middle of the field, nice gain for about 10 yards. Really good read by Fields. Andre Cisco kind of caught his eyes looking in a different direction. It was in a zone coverage, and Fields recognized that, recognized Cisco was looking at, I believe it was the underneath route, caught his eyes, found Garrett across the middle. Cisco was just late to the play, couldn't quite get to Garrett in time to try and draw a pass breakup or force an incompletion. So smart play by Fields there. And in one of the bigger stars, one of the bigger standouts of today's practice, which we'll get more in depth to here in a second, was Arian Smith. He had an excellent day, and it was a big completion for Justin Fields. Deep ball down the field. Arian Smith beat Sauce. That's a big deal there for the rookie, of course. Having a foot on Sauce Gardner downfield just completely beat him with the speed. Now, there is one note on this play. In a game scenario, there is a chance that Fields would have been sacked, but even that, it's still good to see Arian Smith break free there. And so far, Arian Smith, I think, has pleasantly been a pleasant surprise for all of us Jet fans. And that Fields connection there was a positive, and something that you could potentially look to see here in the season is Arian Smith as a vertical deep threat with his speed that has been on display really in every practice. He's made a couple plays. On top of that, Fields continues to get Josh Reynolds involved. He had a completion to him. Big gain, nice throw. Reynolds continues to lock his spot down as camp goes on as that clear-cut number 2 next to Garrett Wilson. And we also had an Allen Lazard sighting. That's when you know it's a good day for the offense, when Allen Lazard's getting involved a little bit. He has been such a non-factor at times this training camp. You haven't heard his name much. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast, so much so you haven't heard a lot about Allen Lazard that you start to wonder, and I've brought up this point a lot, Tyler Johnson maybe emerging as this team's wide receiver 3 over Lazard. Tyler Johnson, in my opinion, I think most Jet fans would agree, he's at a stronger camp. But Lazard did have a completion, nice play across the middle, another big gain there. So a couple plays there back-to-back, getting, the number 2, number 3, number 4, however you want to slot those guys in, some of those back-end receivers. And then another completion to Rucker. Really nice play by Rucker. Beat his man on a crosser, just a clean route, good throw, crisp connection there. So Rucker today flashed a bit as a receiver, which is a good thing. Hasn't done a lot of that in training camp. You want to see him start to stack some days here from a receiving perspective. And Fields clearly was trying his best to get him involved with a couple of those plays. In terms of some of the 11-on-11 drills, another touchdown to Mason Taylor. That is 3 practices in a row now that Justin Fields and Mason Taylor have connected for a score. So Mason Taylor continues what has been, I think, an excellent summer and probably everything you could have asked for. Mason Taylor in his first training camp, he's done that so far. Another touchdown, 20 to 25 yards, nice throw, nice catch. Taylor, Fields, they've got a nice connection going through 8 practices, and I'm really excited to see that connection really build, especially when you get to the joint practices. That'll be intriguing to watch for. Mason Taylor is going to be a key piece in this offense. Late in practice, during the final set of drills, he had a couple incompletions, did miss Reynolds, did miss Garrett, so very hot start. Did end with, I think it was 5 straight incompletions, I believe. Couple of those, Reynolds, Garrett, Sauce pass breakup on that play against Garrett, almost an interception, Cisco pass breakup. But all in all, really strong day for Justin Fields, one of his best of training camp so far. Not one of, probably the best practice of the summer. In terms of Tyrod, couple big plays today. Deep ball to Quentin Skinner for a touchdown. He also got Arian Smith involved as well. He then threw a touchdown to Arian Smith that beat A.Z. Thomas. And then he found Stone Smart as well wide open. Looked like would have been a touchdown as well. So Stone Smart popping a little bit. But Tyrod today also making some plays as well and getting some of these under-the-radar players here. Skinner on the back end of that wide receiver room. Arian Smith, right, the rookie, who's had a nice, strong summer. Good day today. Stone Smart, who has now put together back-to-back good practices. I talked about that yesterday, hoping to see more out of Stone Smart, hoping to see more out of Jeremy Rucker, and we saw that today. So that's the quarterbacks. Positive day there. Definitely a nice bounce back. In terms of the running backs, not a whole lot to take from practice today. The main note was Braylon Allen. He returned, and actually the first play of practice, they gave it to Braylon Allen. So good to see him back out there. Of course, missed the last couple practices with knee soreness, but he was back out there as he looks to continue what has been a good summer so far as we hit the month of August. Receivers. This is really where I want to touch on Arian Smith here. He was the big standout. Yesterday, it was Brandon Smith. Today, it was the other Smith. It was Arian Smith, of course, the rookie out of Georgia. Of course, the 4th-round pick, 110th overall. He was excellent today. He was by far one of the biggest stars, the biggest pieces, biggest performers. There it is. There's the word. In practice today. He looked excellent. And so far, Arian Smith has been a really nice, pleasant surprise. He has been. This is a guy that, of course, was a very controversial draft pick. And you really questioned where they drafted him and what his role was going to be on this team. This was a guy, of course, came out of college, has all the speed in the world, but everything else he needed to work on. Hands, route running, physicality, playing up against good press corners. And so far, he has checked a lot of the boxes that we had concerns about, right? Today, the deep ball against Sauce, showcasing the speed. He had another touchdown today as well. He beat A.Z. Thomas. He beat A.Z. Thomas yesterday as well during one-on-one cornerback wide receiver drills in the red zone for a touchdown. A.Z. Thomas is that physical press man coverage corner. He beat him today. That's a positive for Arian Smith as well. And he also had a really nice play from Tyrod. Not the touchdown reception, but the other reception that I mentioned earlier. It was across the middle, a little bit of a high throw, but Smith went up and grabbed it and turned it into a really nice gain. That's another play that you didn't see Arian Smith do a lot of in college from a standpoint of going up and getting it, going up and having strong hands. Bit of a bad throw, but went up and got it. He showcased a lot of really good things today. His ability, the get off at the line of scrimmage is really impressive. You saw that against Sauce where he was able to beat him vertically. Also able to beat A.Z. Thomas quickly off the line of scrimmage. And then across the middle, he went up and got it a bit and came down, had strong hands, was able to haul in what was a bit of a pass, a little bit of an off pass from Tyrod. So really good. The route running's been crisp. The hands, sure, there's been a drop here and there, but all in all, the hands, I think, have been more impressive than I think most Jet fans could have expected. Another touchdown, and just all in all, production-wise, multiple receptions. Those are things you want to see. So Arian Smith here quietly has been a really nice surprise and a really nice emergence in this training camp. And one of the things we talked about with Arian Smith was when the pads come on, how does he look? And I know the Jets today were just in shells, but even the last couple days, he's made a few plays with the pads on. Because he's a guy, when there's no pads, the speed can just take over. But he has also shown in the practices with pads on, of course, starting earlier this week, that he can make plays there as well. So Arian Smith quietly looking really good. And he would be a really nice surprise if he kind of is a bit ahead of schedule. And I know it's only 8 days of training camp. You don't want to get ahead of yourself, and you really want to see him too, what he looks like in the in the preseason games. Also, what he looks like in the joint practices. Those things are also important. But early on here, Arian Smith's emerging as a little bit of a nice surprise for this Jets team that you didn't really think they'd have, and that is a wide receiver in the back end of this room that's, I think, playing over expectations, or at least what we thought out of him. So really good to see from Arian Smith, especially those weaknesses that he had in college. Right now, you're seeing him. Those are like good. The route running, the hands, all those things. Other, of course, wide receiver notes. Josh Reynolds continues to impress. Mentioned that earlier. Him and Fields, again, just goes back to the spring. There seems to be just a trust factor between those two. Fields has targeted him, and there's been a lot of connection between those two, the clear-cut number 2 right now. We also had the Allen Lazard sighting today. Quentin Skinner is having a really under-the-radar nice camp. Another name to kind of keep an eye on in the back end of that wide receiver room. Again, I don't think he's going to make this 53-man roster. Potential practice squad candidate. But again, we talk about if the Jets hold 6 wide receivers, that final spot, Gibson, Brandon Smith, Jamal Pritchett, Malachi Corley, and you throw Brandon Smith in that conversation as well. And even Quentin Skinner has quietly put together a nice camp. Touchdown today on a deep ball. Couple of the practices, I was there in person. He flashed a bit. So if the Jets hold 6 receivers, one of those guys is going to make the team. If they hold 7, it opens the door for 2 of them, for those, 4 or 5 of them kind of fighting for those last 2 spots. So just a name to keep an eye on here as things go on. Jamal Pritchett had a play where he beat his man deep and got open, but did have a false start. So not great there. And then Malachi Corley had a mixed bag today when you talk about, again, this wide receiver competition. He had a drop, but then he followed it up a couple plays later as practice went on with a really nice contested catch from Adrian Martinez. And it wasn't just it was a contested catch. After he caught it, you saw the yak ability. And there was a couple reports that it went for a touchdown. Again, it's tough to tell a bit when you're not in pads how long these plays actually go, because sometimes players, of course, let up, but still, good contested catch, good yards after the catch, things you want to see from Malachi Corley. Did have the drop, though, so bit of a mixed bag for him today as he looks to try and fight, obviously, for this one of those final wide receiver spots. In terms of the tight ends, I mentioned it, 3rd straight practice, of course, for Mason Taylor with a touchdown. Stone Smart last 2 days, good practices, touchdown today, wide open from Tyrod. And Jeremy Rucker, just off the top of my head, I feel like today was his best practice. I feel like today, out of all these episodes that we've done, and even the 2 days that I was there in person, and we'll be back out there tomorrow for the green and white scrimmage, so can't wait for that. We'll have all my takeaways from that tomorrow, my in-person takeaways. But all in all, I think 8 days in, this was Rucker's best day as well, which is a good thing, and specifically from the receiving perspective, because you want to see more of that from Jeremy Rucker. Offensive line, quick note, John Simpson dealing with a back injury. And we'll get to Glenn's comments on that soon. We'll have more specifics. But during positional drills, Josh Myers was actually at center and Joe Tittman was in at left guard. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves here over the next couple weeks while John Simpson's out. Myers can play guard. Tittman can play guard. Both obviously centers. So we'll see, something to keep an eye on there. Defensive line, Rashad Weaver had a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage. He's quietly had a nice camp here. He's had a couple pass breakups at the line of scrimmage, couple pressures. I believe he had 2 sacks yesterday as well. So, right, we talk about that third edge a lot. He seems right now to be one of the guys emerging, especially with Jermaine Johnson here, of course, out right now and easing him back into it earlier in the year. Rashad Weaver is somebody to keep an eye on. Clemens as well. Not that he's had a good camp, but this coaching staff obviously feels they can get more out of him. In terms of the linebackers, not a ton takeaways, although Marcelino McCrary Ball had a pressure on Tyrod, which forced an interception. It did seem like it might have been a sack in a real game, but then you fast forward to the cornerbacks and the safeties. Stiggers was able to get the interception. Again, tough to tell in a real game environment. There's a good chance Tyrod would have been sacked. But either way, got the throw off. In practice, Stiggers picked it off. And Stiggers has also had a nice camp so far, as he had a good summer last year too. Just, I said this yesterday, it's tough for him to find playing time on this roster where they're so deep at corner and there's a lot of depth already in front of him. But had a good day yesterday, won a lot of his reps, and in an interception today. So Stiggers here making some plays there. I mentioned the Cisco pass breakup on Josh Reynolds late in practice. Sauce, of course, the almost interception pass breakup on Garrett Wilson to end practice. And in special teams during the final drive the field drill, Nick Folk field goal was good. So that's that from a special teams perspective for the New York Jets. All right, so that's what took place on the field for the Jets. Now let's take a look at some sound or listen to some sound here. Aaron Glenn met the media, Jeremy Rucker met the media, and Nick Folk as well in his return met the media. We'll start with Glenn. Here is the latest injury updates.
We actually have three guys of note. One is Quentin Williams. He has a calf, and we want to make sure that like it's precautionary. We want to make sure that this player is going to be good. All right, so we know what he's all about. We know what he can do, and listen, we want to hold him out, and we'll see how that goes. All right. The next guy, John Simpson, he has a back. He'll be just fine. Again, another precautionary, holding him out, maybe a week or two with him. And the last guy is our rookie, Malachi Moore. He has an oblique strain, so he'll be just fine. Guys that we're happy to see coming back, you guys saw Braylon out there today, so he's moving around well.
So that's Glenn on the latest injury updates. Of course, like he mentioned, Quentin Williams 1 to 2 weeks with the calf injury. Smart decision there. No need to rush him back. He's not going to play in the preseason. Ease him back into things. Make sure he's ready to roll by the regular season and healthy there. John Simpson also with the back injury. Again, another veteran coming off a big year. You know he's going to slot in there at left guard. No need to rush him back either. The only thing that's unfortunate, and look, you don't want to see anybody get hurt. You want to see these guys out there. But, you know, now you're going to get maybe a little bit of Josh Myers at center. Is Tippmann going to play more guard here? How does that all going to work? Something to keep an eye on. Would like to see Tippmann more at center and Myers just play guard for the time that Simpson's out. But we'll see how the Jets handle that here. And then Malachi Moore, like he said, oblique strain. Having a very good camp so far and was making a really strong push towards Tony Adams to potentially take over that starting safety job. So alongside Andre Cisco. So that'll be put on hold for right now, but hope he can get back soon as well and kind of pick up where he left off, which was a really good summer for the rookie so far. So that was Glenn on the injury updates. He also spoke on what he saw today from the offense.
Other than that, man, I thought practice was one of our better practices, and the reason why is because we had a number of situations that are very critical for us, especially on the offensive end, of understanding exactly how you have to operate in those situations. And I thought our offense did a really good job of that. Not saying the defense was bad, but I thought our offense executed the way they need to execute. So.
It was pretty clear, like Glenn said there. Most of the reports indicating it as stuff as well. You see some of the highlights. Out of the 8 practices, this felt like not only Justin Fields' best day, but the offense's best day. So that's obviously a positive. Defense is going to have their fair share of winning the days, but you also want to see the offense go out there and put together some nice, productive practices, both red zone perspective, drive the field, all overall 11-on-11 drills, all good stuff from them today. So that was Glenn. Rucker also met the media today. Here was his take on his role in this offense and just his mindset going into this season.
Talking with the staff, I'm excited about it. You know, just to do a little bit of everything. You know, be that consistent guy that can do all the jobs that I get asked, and just try and be more dominant and more consistent. You know, I'm going into year 4, so I got a pretty good feel of what it takes in this league, and you know, I've had some great experience and been with some great tight ends. So continuing to grow, I feel really good right now where I'm at, and be that dominant every down, every day kind of tight end that can, you know, do whatever's asked of me.
So that was Rucker on his role in this offense, and I continue to say it. I just hope that he can pop off a bit more as a receiver this year, right? You know what he can do as a run blocker, all that stuff. And that's going to be important in this offense, given it's going to be a run-heavy team. But can you emerge a bit more as a receiver? Can you do a bit more behind Mason Taylor from a production standpoint, so it's not just Mason Taylor kind of on an island in that tight end room? And it's a big year in general for Rucker, right? This is year number 4. He hasn't really done a whole lot in his first 3 seasons. He really hasn't gotten better in a way. And I don't want to just crush on him. I'm not trying to say that, but he hasn't really, 1 year to year 2 to year 3, you haven't seen really any jumps. You'd like to see him take another step this year. And you hope that the coaching staff can get a bit more out of him there. Rucker also spoke on what he's seen so far from Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been saying about Justin since he signed here, he's a competitor. So I've seen it since we were back at Ohio State. He's a competitor. He wants to win, and he likes being counted out. He likes the challenge of going against a defense like this. And he's calm, he's poised, but at the end of the day, he's a competitor, and he wants to win in everything he does. And that's kind of what you want as a quarterback, and rally behind that and be where he wants you to be and make those plays.
That's been the consensus around Fields, right? Everything that he's been through so far in his career, third team now in 5 years, the quiet confidence, not a very vocal guy, goes about his business, hard worker, competitive, and likes to kind of be counted out a bit. And he has been, right? Spends 3 years in Chicago, didn't work out, goes to Pittsburgh last year, starts 4-2. He gets, benched for Russell Wilson. Now gets another opportunity here with the Jets. That's of course another Ohio State connection. So that was Jeremy Rucker, and Nick Folk, the folk hero, returned, of course, to the Jets earlier this week, and he met the media for the first time. Here was his thoughts on returning to the team that he spent 7 seasons with from 2010 to 2016.
I was excited. Excited about the opportunity to come back, kind of see some familiar faces, a lot of new things. I walked in, I'm like, the bones of this place are still the same. Some lipstick here and there. We got a new logo from when I played. I think they went through a couple uniform changes, but I'm just excited about it. Excited to be back. Good young coaching staff. I enjoy playing for them so far, and AG's been awesome. So it's been great.
Definitely a very nostalgic feel watching Folk meet the media and even seeing some of the pictures of him back in a Jets uniform, obviously wearing number 18 now, not quite the same look as he did when he was with the Jets during his first stint, of course, which saw him repping the number 2. But still, definitely a bit of a nostalgic feel, right? 2010, the big kick in the wild card that ran around against the Colts. And just the fact that the last time this team made the playoffs, he was the kicker, which is still crazy to think how long it's been. Folk also had a funny quote, and I'll also just say this. I think Nick Folk does become this team's kicker, and I think most Jet fans are in agreement on that. Folk also had a funny quote on what it's been like, not only being coached by Glenn, who he spent time with in his career with the Cowboys in his first season, but also Jason Taylor, of course, he played with in 2010, and getting a chance now to be teammates with Mason Taylor. Here was Folk.
But crazy enough, my rookie year, I played with AG. We were on the Cowboys together for the offseason, so I played with Mason Taylor's dad and uncle, so, I mean, kind of fun.
What's that like, seeing him running around making
I mean, I remember him running around in Cortland when he was little. I just asked him today if he remembers living in New York, and he said a little bit. So it's a crazy world that we're in right now, but fun to be around. I mean, obviously he's a great player, and his family, great lineage of players. So it's been fun.
It's just crazy. Folk, of course, the veteran, been around forever, right on that 2010 Jets team, last team to make the playoffs, entering his 18th season, 40 years old. He'll be 41 in November. It's just crazy how timing like that works. Not only Glenn, who he spent the offseason with 2007, of course, with the Cowboys, but being with Jason Taylor, of course, on the same team, practicing up at Cortland at that time. Mason Taylor being a young 6'7", year-old kid. It's just crazy. And it also makes you think, as a Jet fan, reminds you just how long it's been since this team's made the playoffs. 14 years. Mason Taylor was a young kid at that point. Jason Taylor's dad was still playing. Nick Folk was in his first season with the Jets. Now he's entering year 18. It's just wild. That 14 years has not only gone by that quickly, but it's also been that long. So, funny quote there from Nick Folk as the veteran kind of looks down memory lane a bit there. And that's it. Another episode in the books. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What are your biggest takeaways from New York Jets training camp practice number 8 today? As I mentioned, I'll be out there at One Jets Drive tomorrow for the green and white scrimmage, so I'll have a ton of takeaways from that, all of my in-person takeaways. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate your support as always. And until next time, JETS, 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 Jets.